put your mind together and don't think about your work as work, it makes a lot of difference. Your endorsers are your customers. You have to be true to them. We've got new kids on the block, the fintechs. At some point, they have challenged the bank to look at things a little differently.
Whenever the new disruptors come in, the legacy players have to adapt, and some legacy players adapt and win the game, and others fall out.
We must realize that disruption is the only constant now we have to live with. The banking system is running a marathon, and we as employees are trying to kind of keep up the pace. You've actually touched a topic which is, very controversial again, and maybe my feminism streak will just come out. When we are talking of meritocracy, let's not just make it gender issue, because there are a lot of cases where men get promotion, and even we all know that there is a difference in the salaries of men and women in the same role.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Towards a Better World, my Thinkly community where I, Ayon Banerjee, in a personal capacity, host conversations with change makers and leaders from all walks of life, from child prodigies to celebrated artists, from global CEOs to social entrepreneurs. This podcast came about because I strongly believe that you cannot change all that's wrong in the world by ranting about it, but you can do so by bringing forth all that's right in the world. This is also my humble endeavor to demonstrate the great strides that India as a nation has been making in recent times. This year, our 9,000-year-old country will turn 79. Many people in the West try to imagine India through the lens of shoddy documentaries and pretentious books written by Indian intellectuals teaching in Western universities, thus failing to understand what lies beneath the outer India and to reach the other India, the India where 500 million people start their day with a smile, even without a guarantee on the bread for the day. The India where the same 500 million people go to bed every night, wiping a tear but nursing a dream. The India where professionals jostle for space to stand on one foot inside a cramped railway compartment, but who get to work on time and who write programs that form the backbone of most of the Fortune 500 companies. The Dabbawalas who beat Six Sigma precision, or some of the richest Asians who come from India. It is difficult to understand the duality of India from outside, because India is not just a country within a geographical boundary, but it's a story of coexistence, of daily victory and defeat. A land that has earned its history and managed to find back its footing through the centuries, every single time, whenever the world dismissed it to be a spent force. We have come a long way in the past 75 years since independence, from having taken gigantic strides as a nation in terms of more than just doubling our average life expectancy, or rising from a plundered and impoverished country to being the fifth largest economy in the world, and overtaking the same United Kingdom who had ruled us for more than 200 years. From eradicating polio, malaria, and smallpox to being the pharmacy of the world today. But beyond these lie India's other USPs, our youth and our human capital. Did you know that India's average age is 27 years? Our tolerance, our ability to thrive in chaos. And if you've noticed India's march in the past decade, from digitalization to manufacturing productivity, you will be as proud of India as I am. But if there's one sector that's the country's backbone, it is the robust banking sector of a country. And that's the reason I thought of inviting a banker to today's show, a banker who's clocked 25 plus years in two of the largest Indian banks. Shifali Jain is a senior vice president with Axis Bank, who leads their PSU initiatives and their foreign banking mission for the country, among other hats that she dons. So without any further ado, let me welcome Shifali to Towards a Better World. Welcome, Shifali, and why don't you tell our audience the work that you do at Axis Bank, Shifali?
Thank you, Ayon. I think it's a wonderful opportunity that you gave me to come here for talking to your community and to others. Just to give you a brief background about my own self, I'm working with Axis Bank currently, and I have prior experience of 20 years with HDFC Bank. Largely, my domain had been PSU and government, and I'm very proud that I've been able to carve out a niche for myself by establishing credibility with the key stakeholders. And, these stakeholders are all powerful. So, it's not about the words we go and speak to them, it is also about action. The words have to get translated into actions. And that's why, the credibility that I've established is where it is. So it's definitely, when I reflect back, it is really a proud moment for me to be able to achieve this much. I've also been quite lucky, I would say, to be driving major transformational projects of the government, for which today what you're talking of, what we see India as, digitally empowered and way ahead. I'd been forefronting the project PFMS, GST, and PFMS today is the backbone of India's government schemes disbursements, which used to take a hell lot of a time. There was money stuck in many pockets at the block level, at the district level. So this system enabled government to unlock all those blocks. And today we are doing almost real time settlement of the payments to the beneficiaries. So, it is, you just feel good about it, because I remember, when this PFMS was launched, the kind of challenges I had to face to convince the bank to onboard this. And then, there came a time when Modi government came in, and it was at that time that this was made as a flagship scheme. And I was with the then MD of HDFC, and I was in HDFC at that point of time. So, you know, uh, we went to the finance secretary, and we were told that this is going to be the transformation system. And that's the time, all the banks got into action. And today we are talking of real-time settlement to the beneficiaries, direct benefit transfers, etc. All this has been made possible because of PFMS, and I was part of the project management team. So I think it's again something which I'm very proud of. I joined Axis Bank in 2019, and for the last 5.5 years, I've been here. I'm very happy to say that ever since I've joined, I've been able to grow the book for the bank by 5x time. So again, it's not just about handling complex projects, but also driving numbers. Um, so I think it's been a great journey so far for me. And a new segment was given to me, foreign mission banking. And again, if you put your mind together and don't think about your work as work, it makes a lot of difference. So I started thinking about how I can synthesize foreign mission banking into my experience on PSU, government, and all that. And now I look at this particular business in a very integrated way, and I don't look at it as a separate kind of a vertical. I try to harness what is best from foreign mission into my government and PSU segment, and what is so cross pollination, I would say, is something which I'm trying to do in this particular segment. Besides work, I'm also very passionate about women. And I've been fortunate that Access gave me an opportunity to make me a part of DEI Council. And there are a lot of things that the bank has been doing. So it's not just a mere lip service that we are doing. It's more about action on ground. And maybe we can discuss in detail subsequently. So one thing I want to just highlight here is that your endorsers are your customers. So you have to be true to them. And one of the best compliment that I have received from my customer is, Shifali, you know how to make things happen. And this has really stayed with me, and it has defined me. And every time when I feel, when I self doubt and I feel I can't do it, this statement just comes in front of me, and I say that I can't quit. I need to do it. And I think that is where it is. So it is I look at my career as converting my ambitions into reality, and that's about it.
So well said, Shifali, and thanks. That's a great journey indeed. And And especially, you like you mentioned in the last 10 years, the strides that we've made, and you were with HDFC, one of the banks which is very highly respected. And in fact, we will talk more about Indian banks as we go ahead. But yeah, the last 10 years of the digitalization journey under the present government of India has been really commendable. And that's one of the reasons when I was thinking of speaking to a banker, I thought of you among my other banker friends, because I wanted someone with an experience across the arc of an Indian banking industry, because Indian banking industry has really been at the forefront. So, now my next question is probably a takeoff from where you summarized it, is that having worked for two of India's most reputed institutions in the past 25 years, you've literally witnessed the march of India as a nation into a globalized and now among the top economies of the world. Obviously, there have been many reforms in the banking sector and the financial services sector over the years. But if I am to ask you the top three reforms in the banking sector in the past, say, 20 plus years, which have had the most significant positive impact on India's growth story, what will they be?
So I'll again, I've been part of the entire transformation the banking system has seen. So I remember those days when I just joined banking, and we were introduced to ATM. ATM was not even present in the country, and the first ATM, which that time I was with Times Bank, which got eventually taken over by HDFC. So the ATM came in, and the kind of questions which were raised by customer, that if we put the pen in, the pen will come out, or how does it work? So from there, from ATM, and then we used. Today we say that it is antiquated. There was a concept of high value check deposits, where high value would mean that you will get the same day credit if it is lodged before 2 p.m. or whatever, and 11 p.m. I think, and we would run.
1 lakh. 1 lakh was the high value
Yeah,
cutoff, right?
yeah, 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 correct. And I used to handle wholesale banking customers. So obviously the amount was not in lakhs, but crores even then. So, I remember that we would miss by chance any check, and the customer would shout on us that, how did you miss, and all those kind of things. And then came RTGS, real time gross settlement. And my first client was IFCI, and I said, when this was introduced, I said, this is like a wow phenomena at that point of time. And RTGS came in, and I said, you just lodged a check and you will get an instant credit. It was a real time credit into the account, and it was like, the first transaction I did with them, I charged them 500 rupees. And I was so happy that, this is like going to be a money making, um, revenue stream for the bank. But eventually, how technology works, it is the novelty only remains for a while. And then, it just, um, the value of it loses, and because there are newer things which are coming, and so forth and so more. So that's how that 500 lost its sheen, and we were actually came down to almost nothing on the charges. And then after RTGS and all, there was a leap jump when this PFMS and JAM, which we call Jandhan Trinity, the Jandhan Aadhaar Mobile, everything came in. So what happened was that banking, because of JAM Trinity, banking was actually expanded to unbanked areas, which we never thought of. So that brought a lot of population in the unbanked areas into the banking fold. And I was also part of one of the Aadhaar-based card payment system, which was introduced by Fino at that point of time, and we were trying to work out, a business correspondent model. So, so all those things happened, but it was like, a fragmented kind of an approach and all that. But when then subsequently this mobile payment came in, and then after that we witnessed the UPI movement. So, we've gradually made the transition. The first 10 years was slower transformation, But the last 10 years, we have seen the transformation has been exponential. Post COVID, we actually saw, even the way we look at banking, individuals, even not so literate, have become very comfortable using UPI as a payment mode. Today, we go to any of the street vendor, like even a parking of 10 rupees, you can pay through UPI. So, from the retail perspective, I think that's the change that we have brought in banking. From the corporate perspective or the wholesale perspective, if I look at it, and especially in my segment, post COVID, we have seen a lot of transformation, because while they were, most of them were doing electronic payments in a semi electronic way, where they would expect the bank to do the transaction, but it will be followed by a manual instructions. From there, we have now moved to and some of the advanced corporates would use ERP as a ERP integration for banking. Now we have actually traversed all that, and we have actually moved to API. So banks are comfortable exposing their APIs to the corporates of the various services. And I think there is what we initially used to push, electronic banking. It has now become a pull factor because of the kind of security and the comfort people have witnessed during COVID. So because that was the only option to do transactions. So I think that's how the transformation has happened, and a lot of government intervention, the public digital infrastructure that government put in place, Aadhaar, and Aadhaar is totally government institutionalized system. So Aadhaar mobile, I think that's really been a game changer for banking. From manual to ATM to RTGS to UPI, API, all that is now part of the banking system, and we've done the journey with all the changes that were introduced by the bank, by the government and RBI.
Yeah, I mean, I know, because sometimes, this is, while it can be quite painful while it's being implemented. For example, linking of your everything to Aadhaar, and then all the checks and balances. For example, my primary account is with HDFC in India, although I have an HSBC account also. But with HDFC, I see that, even for the slightest of transactions, the amount of security measures that are in place, I mean, as a customer, I feel relieved that these are there, because in many other places, in many other countries, in leading banks also don't have such kind of measures. So I think I mean, full marks to the Indian banks for that.
Yeah, and other thing what has really happened on the banking landscape is we've got new kids on the block, the fintechs. So they have
Yes.
actually kind of at some point they have challenged the bank to look at things a little differently. And now what we essentially see is more of a partnership kind of model which is evolving in banking, and a lot of new things we can really witness again. So today, if I talk about my own mobile banking, Axis Bank, I can, from my own mobile banking, I can link all my accounts, across the banking system and see the balances, even can do the transactions from my Axis Bank mobile banking. All this has been possible because of the account aggregators propelling the engine for this kind of a transformation. So there are a lot of new things which are happening. And sometimes, I would say that, the banking system is running a marathon, and we as employees are trying to kind of keep up the pace, panting or sweating it out. But I think that's the way we have to grow.
No, I think you're right, and I think that's probably what drives most industries. When these new kids on the block, as you said, they come along, and they disrupt the system, and that applies for all sectors. Whenever the new disruptors come in, the legacy players have to adapt, and some legacy players adapt and win the game, and others fall out. And it always happens, and that's how the industries.
And it's not just about banking. I would say it's about anything and everything in life. Even if you step outside banking, and if you're not keeping pace, with the world and the changes around it, maybe at one point of time, you will not be able to connect and communicate with your own kids.
Sure. Yeah. No. And look at any industry. I mean, look at hotel industry, how it was disrupted with Airbnb, taxis, how they were disrupted by Uber and Ola in India, etc. So every industry has got these disruptors who change the game, and the conventional players, they adapt and they play the game. So I work for a company which is more than 100 years old, and it has kept reinventing itself again and again, and that's why it is still relevant. So it happens. I think that's how good companies thrive. And yeah, so I'll come to one. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I am saying that we must realize that disruption is the only constant now we have to live with, and we need to
Absolutely.
reinvent.
Yeah, and it is just getting accelerating.
Yes,
It's not previously, a disruption would come along maybe once in a decade. Now it's every year. So, like, 1 year back, Chat GPT was the most happening thing in the world. And today, Chat GPT itself is disrupted. OpenAI is disrupted by a Chinese DeepSeek. And tomorrow, you never know what else is going to disrupt that. So, the pace of disruption is accelerating. And we have to
accelerated.
keep pace. Yeah.
Yes.
Great. So I think, Shifali, you in your opening remarks, you mentioned that you are also very passionate about women and about diversity and inclusion, and you are in the diversity council of your bank. So unlike today, we did not have so much of management focus on diversity and inclusion in the earlier decades, where women like you were still trying to make a mark for yourself in an industry which was probably male dominated, like all industries were a couple of decades back. So tell us about some of the challenges that women in banking had to overcome, preferably with a personal anecdote from your own journey, if you can. And if you could also tell us and the viewers how the industry has evolved over the years, and what are some of the initiatives that we have today to facilitate not merely a more inclusive workforce, but also having more women voices at the leadership table, and how they affect the industry as a whole. And this is a two-part question. And the second part is, of course, about the general cynicism that has crept in all around the world about DEI being just a checkbox exercise. And now with whatever is happening in America, and people are following suit. So what can organizations do to retain the nobility and authenticity of the DEI without making it a simple checkbox exercise?
Women in banking had been there for a fair amount of time, and uh, it's my own opinion that mostly women would prefer to be, up till mid level, they were very comfortable in doing banking. And, once they have kids and all, then they find it little difficult to kind of, make their way up or even stick to the jobs. So I think we need to have a two-pronged approach. One is organizations creating an enabling environment, but also what is very important, which is out of my own personal experiences, that women also have to go through a change in conditioning, and they have to rise above the challenges. And there are during my one of the interviews that I was taking of few of the women that we wanted to bring back into the workforce, who had for whatever reason left the workforce at some point of time. So I interviewed a couple of women, and what I really found out was the women who were very comfortable with the family setup, whether they have parents or in-laws to take care of the kids, they were far more confident to jump back. So my only small point here is that we are all wanting to go towards nuclear setup, but then if you have aspirations and ambitions, then a bit of compromise to be staying with in-laws and the parents. I know staying with any of them sometimes can be very challenging, but then a little bit of compromise here and then, you can actually rise above a lot of challenges. I've been working throughout. I've never taken a career break, primarily because of the strong family support that I have. So this is one thing about the conditioning. The second thing is from the organization perspective, Axis Bank in particular, I know we are making conscious efforts to also not just restrict the women to certain stereotype roles. We are encouraging and empowering them to rise beyond the straight-jacketed role to a little complex roles. So a lot of women, I'm not talking about 10 to 20% of the women workforce in banking, but the other women, balance 80-90, they should step up and take up sales role, more roles which are customer facing, rather than just be taking the uh, back office kind of jobs, or certain jobs which does not require that kind of customer interactions or travel. Or so those are the things. We have to make environment comfortable. We also have to ensure some bit of guidance and maybe a bit of training for the supervisors, who also could have biases in giving those kind of opportunities to women. So these are the little things that we have been doing in a very conscious way to promote more women taking larger roles which are more complex in nature, rather than just the simplified roles. So the conditioning, their own conditioning, by managing home, and support and enabling factors by the organization, I think that is something which will take uh, DEI initiatives of the company beyond lip service, and we will see tangible results. So that is what we are doing. And in terms of, I don't know what US has to do about DEI, but organizations here are very. I mean, I've seen most of the organizations are very putting concerted efforts to get women participation in the workforce. And being a woman, I feel that those interventions are very timely and helpful. If those interventions are not there, not everybody can make their way up. So the other thing what we are also doing is, which is going to be probably a part of our evaluation process or something like that. The DEI member should also be part of the, lot of promotion committees and etc. So that, while we may not influence, but at least there's somebody who's there to check if everything is going in order. So those are the things which are being done in Access. And as a supervisor, I also, being a women supervisor, I also come across some of the women coming to me about their challenges. So again, it is about effective mentoring to them, and so that they don't fall off.
Very well said. I think a number of takeaways from your answer. The first one is, which was a contrarian view to the popular opinion, which is the importance, and I endorse that completely, is the importance of a family support system to enable a woman give her best at work, because I think women have it harder than men.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you, you might have, I don't know if you noticed it, when you were answering my previous question, I was on the phone because, my wife, who is also a working woman, she is going through some kind of a crisis at work. And she doesn't have anybody to vent out except me. So she was texting me and I was just, replying back to her. So I know women have it harder than men. And then, one of my friends who is a global cybersecurity expert was on my podcast some time back. She had made a very good point. She said that, Ayon, women, the problem is that we have only certain number of years to grow as a trajectory in our careers, right? And women lose part of that bracket because they have to raise kids, start a family, or they have to tend to the elderly at home, or a sick relative, etc. And by the time they get back to the workforce, they are already behind the curve. So to ensure that the curve, they are at par with men in the curve, we need these initiatives in place. But of course, I am again also a big fan of of meritocracy. So it should not be that somebody should be getting a job or getting a promotion merely because they belong to a certain group, which is a minority group or a checkbox group. So it should be on the basis of talent also. It should not, because we do have, maybe not in Axis Bank, but we have it in other organizations where people actually make statements that in the end I will play the diversity card, or don't give that job to a male guy, to a man, because it's a diversity candidate job. So that is probably an improvement area we have. So I
Ayon,
think but
I beg to differ on it, and you've actually touched a topic which is, very controversial again, and maybe my feminism streak will just come out because,
sure.
when we are talking of meritocracy, uh, let's not just make it gender issue, because there are a lot of cases where men get, uh, rise and a promotion, and even we all know that there is a difference in the salaries of men and women in the same role, so the salary
Mhm.
parity is also not there. So I think, meritocracy is something which is a given thing,
Yeah, no, no,
it's
no, no. I think you misunderstood. It's got nothing to do with gender. What I said
yeah,
was meritocracy means talent. It can be a man or a woman, the best, most
exactly,
deserving person
yes,
getting the job and
agree
getting the.
totally,
Yeah.
agree
So that
totally
was
on
my
that.
point.
Yeah.
So, so no, there should be no pay disparity. There should be no favoritism on basis of gender, color, race,
Exactly.
sexual orientation. It should be based on talent, pure talent. That's what my
And
opinion is on this.
I would say a lot of women who are, a lot of women actually don't want to play that card at all, because they
They
want to
don't.
be respected for what they deserve.
Absolutely. In fact, one, in this series that I'm doing this year, and I've been inviting all women guests in my the third season, and one of my mentors, who is a lady from one of my erstwhile companies, she said that exactly the same thing, that I never believe in playing the woman card. I believe that I have to be respected for the work that I do and the knowledge I have.
Exactly.
So so. But yeah, but unfortunately, we have some disparities somewhere, and we need to correct it as leaders.
Sure.
So, so yeah, and so now my next question is about Indian banks, because we discussed about Indian banks, and we'll come to women leaders again in my next question probably. But before that, in a country as populous as ours, Shifali, I mean, banking can be very lucrative and it can also be very complex. Just the other day, I think day before yesterday, we heard about a scam in a Mumbai, some cooperative bank, where the general manager was siphoning out cash from the bank for years, 120 crores or something. I don't know how much the amount was, something of that sort. So, but India definitely has done a great job in the digitalization journey. Now, you mentioned in the beginning, in the opening statement, that you've led mission critical projects in tech, in banking, and also who's worked on advisory boards in policy making, etc. How would you rate India's banking sector in terms of modernization and digitalization when you compare it with the rest of the developed world? I mean, I personally feel, like I said about HDFC earlier, that I feel that we are at par, if not better than most Western nations in terms of adaptation to technology. But I would like to have your opinion. Can you share with us, I mean, how Indian banks today stand tall and compete fair and square with the largest banks in the world?
So, in terms of both volumes and value, if you look at it, the kind of volumes that Indian banking sector handles, um, by sheer size of the population, obviously we are way ahead in terms of other larger banks. So in terms of volumes, I'm not talking about value per se. So the kind of transaction volumes that we've been handling so far, and there could be there's cases like this that you mentioned, but there are very far and few, I would say. So largely everybody has huge confidence in the Indian banking system because of the strong regulators that we have behind all the scheduled banks. So, we have been way ahead in terms of the kind of products that we've been rolling out of late, vis-a-vis, I would say, a lot of developed countries. And I was recently in UK, And we've just got so used to using UPI, and you just want to just show your mobile and just walk through, kind of a thing. And there are so many places even today in UK which once ruled us, where you have to pull out your wallet and uh, pay in cash or whatever. So I just felt that I think we've done a great job in bringing technology in the banking system. And as I mentioned earlier, that government has played a pivotal role in bringing that digital public infrastructure in place. Aadhaar has been a game changer for us. Fintechs have come, they have brought in the concept of account aggregators. So, you are not restricted to doing borrowing only from your bank. You can go and borrow from any other bank by an account aggregator interface. So, all that UPI has been there. Even on artificial intelligence, I would say today, not only about transactions, but even about, we are today talking about deploying AI to pull out all the regulations as a repository by RBI, or even going through those lengthy legal documents. We want to deploy AI on my banking transactions, if I say. We used to earlier print bank guarantees. Before printing the bank guarantees, it'll go through number of checks and all that. Today, all those back-end operations have been taken over by AI. The bank guarantee document is, checked by artificial intelligence, and and that is why we've been able to process the kind of volumes that we face every day. So, we have made huge stride, I would say, as Indian banking sector, and that is why, if you look at today, Singapore, UAI, France, all of them want to work with us for cross-border payments, and using UPI as a model for payment amongst the three countries. So I think um, amongst a lot of developers, I would say we are either at par or maybe even ahead in some of the products. So, and that is all
Very true.
possible because of the kind of talent we have, technology talent by way of Fintech and other players in the market, the technology, and also strong regulator. So that, when we are expanding, we don't go wrong. That is also very important. And our cybersecurity norms are also pretty stringent.
Yes, and technology is, of course, technology is very good and important in whenever we make progress like this. But it is also adaptation to technology, and I think it is one of India's strengths. Like probably I mentioned in the opening remarks, where India's young population, and which is very tech savvy, not just the urban population but even the rural population. If you even go to a village today, a teenager in a village has all the apps on a mobile phone, and they know how to handle it, unlike many urban people in the West. And you mentioned UK, and I have seen how banks work, because I had a banking need on a Friday in London, and the bank was not working in the second half of the day, and I was running pillar to post because I couldn't get my work done, because there was nobody available to help me there, and
And
the helplines don't.
in India, we are talking about RBI has made RTGS and NEFT available even on Sundays.
Correct, I know.
So
So that's
it is a country that never sleeps, I would say. Unlike the city, city
yes.
has a saying that city never sleeps. So we are a country that never sleeps. The banking system never sleeps. It's always working.
True. You mentioned UPI, and that's we have a very family joke going around, my wife and I, that whenever we are in India, I carry a wad of cash with me, because I'm still old school, and and my other people in our family joke with us that you are probably the last two human beings left in India who transact in cash, because nobody here does anything beyond UPI. I mean, everybody has a UPI and does that.
So we are also
So
in for probably maybe a huge transformational shift again with AI, which will bring, I would say, a personal, hyper personalized banking. I think that is the next phase that we are looking at. So, it'll be
which
like Ayon wants. I should be able to
exactly,
provide
that's,
it.
and that's where what AI is doing in every industry, right? It is very
Yeah,
personalized. They look at your preferences and they customize their offerings to you as per your preferences. So
exactly.
it's like the YouTube sidebar that you have. So your
Hmm.
YouTube knows which videos does Shifali like to watch, and it will keep feeding you those same videos in the sidebar. So likewise,
Interestingly,
banking will also.
I'll tell you now that you're telling me about this. I'll tell you what happened recently. Uh, I was just crossing my branch, and suddenly a message comes on my mobile that so and so is your RM, and if you have anything, please reach out to him. I wondered, like, how come, why it has come, and then I saw that, every time I'm crossing the branch, I get a message. So they've
Okay.
enabled something like that.
Awesome. So yeah,
Mhm.
we've really something to be proud of what we have achieved as a country in adapting to technology and to the full marks to the banking sector in India, which has risen to the challenge, not just riding on the technology, but also competing fair and square with the fintechs and
Exactly.
and making it sharp. So great. Now let us come back to the previous question on women leaders. So from Arundhati Bhattacharya to Shikha Sharma, from Naina Lal Kidwai to the late Meera Sanyal, whom I knew personally. I mean, India has seen some iconic women bankers over the years. Uh, can you tell us about your role models in the industry and preferably with some anecdotes on the reasons why?
So, yes, we do look at some of the women leaders in banking as a source of inspiration. That has always been the case. You will always look up to someone, and you want to be, you would want to reach that level, or at least, you'll strive to be one of them. Uh, so, I do look at women leaders, but in banking, but most of the experience that I have drawn, or most of the inspiration that I've drawn, is also from the people I interact on day-to-day basis. So, so when we were talking about conditioning in my earlier questions, so earlier responses, um, my conditioning begins at home with my mother as a working woman. She spent with 35 years relentlessly working as a doctor, and she would work in the night and whatever. So I think she became a foundation, or you can say that I never gave up, because I had somebody in front of me who never gave up. So, and
Sure,
I think that's very important for me, because I have two daughters, and I also want that they should not give up. So I think that
sure.
conditioning is very, very important. Um, then about balancing, again, somebody from my family, my sister-in-law, she retired as a principal economic advisor. She's a bureaucrat, and she managed both the works, looking after her family, my family, as in like my her side of the family, and work flawlessly. So it always gave you a lesson that you can manage it all. It's not so difficult, but you just have to be systematic about it. And then my customers, and they are like, again, very senior bureaucrats, and they are at director finance level. So when I talk with them, they have actually challenged themselves. They have taken up roles. They have not constrained themselves to a particular geography. These are the challenges which each woman face. They don't want to leave their family and the kids behind, but they're the people who I've spoken with them, they have done all that. So a lot of boundaries women create for their own self, and they have to cross those boundaries. And so that is something that I have picked from. She's now a retired she's now retired. She was director of finance ONGC. She told me that she went to all the plant locations and the sites, and which normally a woman wouldn't do. So those are the things that that's the other thing is that it's a very I don't think so whether I should be talking on such a forum, but then um, sometimes you do have emotional reactions, and you feel bad about it, that why did I react emotionally in a professional landscape. So I have discussed this with some of the senior bureaucrats, and they said, it's okay, it's perfectly fine, don't hold yourself too guilty about it, and just move ahead. It happens with everyone, and I think that's something which was very assuring, reassuring, and I think I took it as a women thing, and I just said, okay, this is also something which I have to tide over as the constraint or the challenge that I impose on myself. So I think it's a mix of all the people I interacted with. And also, one should not be very shy of taking guidance. So I have always had mentors, women mentors in my life. Mandeep Mehta, she was head of HR in HDFC Bank. Then we were in touch, and I connected with her, and she took mentorship for me. And it was a great amount of guidance that she brought into my life when I was going through a rough patch, like you just mentioned that your wife is having a. So those are part and parcel of our working life. If those challenges grow on you, you will fail. But if you will also have to have your own inherent strength to tide over, but also a mentor will help you to put you on the right path. So Mandeep Mehta was one of them who helped me pull through. And I was just talking about one event that I did, and that was a dream event for me. um, a lot of self doubts I had, and you know, uh, then I remembered my customer who said, "You can make things possible." That played on my mind. Then there was another coaching that I took. This was Radhika from CXO Incubator. She taught in her coaching that you know you have to live your unlived. So I think that is where, and she talked about steering your life through your core values, and that too with confidence. So I think a mix of all that has brought me to where I am. I don't know whether I've achieved um, quite a bit or less, but I'm happy with whatever I have achieved so far. And I feel that women should not compromise on their ambitions and aspirations. It is better to compromise on some things at home, by doing a little bit of adjustment, but uh, they should never let your dreams fall through.
Absolutely. No, very, very well said. I think a number of things that you said here was, of course, the learnings you had, and very, very nice of you to mention the names of people who influenced you in a positive way. And we all have mentors like that, because a career is long and non-linear, and we all need support systems around us. So that's very important. And the way you mentioned that nobody should give up on their ambitions and dreams. We can always make a little bit of a compromise outside, but you shouldn't compromise on your dreams. And I think you've done pretty well for
Exactly.
yourself.
Uh,
You should be proud of yourself. So before I open the floor for audience questions, I have
Just one more thing I
just.
want to add.
Sure.
I'm sorry, Ayon. It's also Indra Nui, one of the celebrity. I have watched all her interviews. I've read her book, and while she's a leader and she's a iconic leader, I would say, but the challenges have been the same for her when you read her book and her podcast.
Yes,
So I
I
think
agree.
she has really greatly influenced me in my life.
Yes, and she makes a very important point on the support system from her husband. and her in-laws
Exactly.
and family.
Yeah.
Because when she said that when her children were young, when she had to come home and I think she had to go and fetch milk, her mother said that she had
Leave
just
your
become the
crown.
CEO.
Yeah, leave the crown outside.
Yeah, she became the CEO of Pepsi that day, and she went out to fetch milk. So
Yeah.
I remember that anecdote. Very inspiring lady, and of course an Indian, very inspiring Indian. So fantastic example and great anecdotes there, Shifali. So now before I move to audience questions, I'll check the audience questions. Let me ask you, this way. I mean, in people like you and me who have like done about 20-25 years in our professional journeys, a lot has changed in the world, right? So I often joke that 20 years back, my battlefield was my office room and my laptop computer. And today, it is any place. It need not be an office room. And it's just I need a smartphone. So, can you share with us something or things which have completely changed in the last 20 years in terms of financial services leadership, and something which has never changed and it will always remain the same?
So you're talking about leadership?
Leadership attributes, I mean, something which is universal and which has changed completely.
So I think what has really changed is uh, leadership is no longer hierarchy based. It has to be something which has to bring value to the people. So people should look up to you. It's not just by being a boss in a particular seat that you can get that respect. So because the people who are following you or who are reporting to you are uh, very well aware about the environment, and it is important that if you take that example to student teacher, if the teacher is not keeping pace with the changes and students are outsmarting the teacher, then teacher will lose its relevance. So similarly, it's about leadership. The leader has to be far more aware. They also have to be agile, because we are in a environment which is disruptive. A lot of transformations are taking place. So leaders have to be agile. They have to be purpose driven. They have to be aware about the environment, and they have to make sure that they're taking the team along. It is and it has to be with a lot of compassion and empathy, because we are also living in a world of social media where people do voice out their concerns in the social media. So uh, you know it's I would say it's slightly challenging times for even a leader, that you can't step a wrong way to any of the employees that are reporting to you. So leadership is I would say leadership is more about it has to be more inspiring. You have to again instill the concept of making things happen for your team, for your people, and that's when you kind of get respect from uh, your team and your people. So I think that's what has really changed. And uh, but one should not take away the fact which is constant: I am the boss. So there should be a bit amount of fear too, so
This
as to
distance.
ensure that people remain accountable to you.
Correct, very correct. And I think which you said very rightly is that the days of the dictatorial style of leadership are gone. And that is why we see so much of backlash when some of these leaders are facing, whether it is in the Indian example recently, where somebody asked people to work for 90 hours, 70 hours, or even your financial services industry. Just a couple of days back, the Goldman Sachs CEO, he made a remark which was met with a lot of mixed opinions. I have my opinion on it, but I would not like to voice it. Frankly, I don't disagree with what some of these leaders are saying, because I know that they don't mean harm; they mean good for the organization. But the style of communication and how you communicate has changed in today's world. So because we are dealing with multi-generational workforces, and baby boomer style of leadership will not work with a Gen Z. So that's probably what's changed.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
great answer, I think. And of course, leadership is about commanding respect, not about demanding respect. And
Exactly.
I always say, I have this phrase that having a drink with your team every evening is a bad idea, because you are the boss and they are the team. So once in a while you should do it, but don't do it daily. And that's to
Daily.
your last point, which you said, that that's how you make people accountable, that I am with the team, but I am slightly above the team as a leader.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so with this, there are a number of questions and comments. Shifali, any closing remarks, questions before we go to the audience?
So it's been, Ayon, I would say that, I was a little jittery before the interview. I was thinking, what all questions you will throw on me and how I would respond. But I would say it was a great conversation, and I thoroughly enjoyed. I just have one question, which I would like to put to you. Is I've seen that you're a great writer, and you and I connected. I never knew you, but you and I connected only because of LinkedIn and the kind of stuff you've been writing. And I've seen that you also emphasize a lot on work, but at the same time a balance. So I've read your book as well. So in fact, yesterday there was somebody at home, and very senior leader from banking, and the question that he just kind of raised when we were talking was that what do we do after banking? Um, there could be complete voidness after we've done the entire cycle of 60 years, and you're heading towards retirement. So I think you've done quite a bit of balancing. So I feel that you might not ever retire. You may leave the organization, but you may not ever retire. So what are the things beyond your work that you've been doing, which is enriching, and which could be probably food for thought for others?
So I think thanks for the question. I'm humbled at your kind words, Shifali, first of all. And yeah, I mean, I actually, it's so, I mean, it's such a coincidence that today I put out an article on my blog which was talking about just the same thing, which is why a midlife should not be called a crisis. Because
Yeah.
many people think that when you hit a certain age, it's like game over for you. And the flashbulb moment came to me some years back when I realized that I've been running wrong races, not the wrong races, but probably the races where I would not be first always. I mean, it was, you need to live a life of authenticity, because uh, relevance is very tricky and fleeting. And it is, we often lay our relevance in the hands of external factors and external people without
Exactly.
making it internalized. And I think, and after that flashbulb moment, what I did was I said that I'll probably dust out all my other hats and try to give it a shot, that at the end, at the finish line, I should not feel that I didn't live the way I wanted to live. Whether I succeed or not, that's a different thing. But at least मैंने try mara. So last few years, I've done everything that I could do. I have, day job wise, I've been doing pretty okay, I would say. But beyond that, I've been writing. I blog daily. I've written 4 books in 4 years. I am an advisory member to an international university for their MBA program, which is among the top 5% MBA programs in the world. And beyond that, I try to do a lot of things. I make a lot of friends, from 6-year-olds to 80-year-olds. My friend list is comprises of all of them. I learn from everyone and from people like you, and trying to do everything so that it's not about retirement, but it's about looking at into my eyes in the bathroom mirror at night while brushing my teeth and saying that you did well today. That's about
Great.
it.
I think it's about living life full size, king size, and in your own eyes.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Shifali. Thanks for the question. So I'll read out. There are comments and there are questions. So I'll read out the comments and mention the questions. And if there are repetitive questions, I'll bundle them. So Aniket Rao is saying, hi, how do you see the future of digital banking in India?
I think we are heading towards digital branches, and maybe in times to come, physical branches will be redundant. The way the things are moving on technology and also the adoption. Plus, what government has also been doing is ensuring that n- internet connectivity and broadband services are reaching to the remotest part. So once all those things are achieved, I'm sure that tell me something. How many times have you gone to the branch? I have not gone to my bank branch for aeon of years now. So I think it's a completely shift because of the kind of convenience that you can get at the click of a button. And we, as human beings, are slaves of convenience. So, if you look at uh, initially, you would be doing Google search, but ever since ChatGPT has come, I think Google search has also become redundant. So that is how the things would be if mobile banking and mobile banking, which has actually become quite flawless, and there is no connectivity issue. You would and mobile banking embraces more and more services on the platform. There will be actually no need to go to the physical branches.
Great. Yeah, I agree. Although I still go to the branch, I'm old school. Sometimes I go, but
That
I
is
agree
because you've
that
stayed in UK and you are not staying in India.
no, but I go because I am a little bit. But yeah, I agree. It's completely digitalized now. Kashish is asking you, how has your experience at HDFC Bank helped shape your role at Axis Bank? I think you touched it, but please go ahead.
So I would say that born and brought up in HDFC, aggression and right amount of aggression and accountability, ownership, that was something which got instilled, and that helped me carry those virtues into Access. And uh, I think those are the things which will help you in any of the organization. And there had been a lot of reinforcement and reiteration of these virtues even in Axis Bank today. And I think that's really helping me and the organization.
And it's always good to work for an aggressive go-getter company. That's the best grooming place, I would say, boot camp to learn.
Yeah.
Uh, because I work for a company that used to be called as a leadership factory for the very reason, because there is so much of grind here that you just don't have time for politics or anything else. You just put your head down and work, and that competitiveness that comes in you, it kind of spills over when you go to another organization. So that's there. Great. I agree. And HDFC is a great example. Siddhi Dubey is asking you, what do you think is the role of innovation in banking, especially when working with large public sector initiatives?
Anything which brings convenience, which brings um, agility, which brings swiftness in transactions. Um, when we talk about in banking, if innovation enables that, and there is government which is bringing those kind of interventions. So initially, you might struggle to kind of adopt that, but those innovations, if it is for a larger good, uh, it is definitely helpful for the entire ecosystem.
Yes, and I think public sector is also evolved now. I mean, it is not the same public sector
Oh,
like
you're talking
20 years
about
back.
public sector bank. I think I just
No, no, no. What
misread this.
she was asking you was innovation in banking when working with large public sector initiatives.
Oh, public sector or government initiatives. So that is what I'm saying. That
Public sector initiatives she has written. So I
okay.
think what she means is, suppose you are working for ONGC through Axis Bank. I mean,
Hmm.
how fast are they? How does
Oh,
innovation
yeah,
play?
yeah, yeah. So okay, I get it now. I'm sorry about misunderstanding the question. I would say public sector and both the government, when we go to them as bankers, uh, they are also very high on the technology quotient now. And some of the places, we kind of find it difficult to even match their expectation. So it forces us to bring in a lot of new products and innovation, and uh, they've been quite adaptive and open to explore those kind of new innovations, which eases their way of doing work and doing businesses. So I think they've been very swift in adoption of innovation and changes, which was not the case pre-COVID, but post-COVID, that has definitely brought about a lot of change in the way they look at banking and innovation.
And I always feel that the best talent of our country used to go to the public sector, at least in the past. And it was a shame that we were not able to utilize that talent. And today, when we look at young public sector employees and engineers and other employees, I think they are very, very tech savvy and very modern in their outlook. They are unlike the public sector employees of the past. I think that's what you also said. So, and the next question from Aisha Patel is something similar. She's asking you, what trends do you foresee in the future of government e-payments and cash management?
I think banks thrive on inefficiency. They make money on inefficiencies, and government is ensuring that there are no inefficiencies in the banking system and the payment system, so that um, they become far more efficient in managing their cash. So we are living in the world where the payments will become seamless. There will be no blockade of funds anywhere. So maybe banks will have to revisit their business models and will have to start charging on transactions rather than making money on float.
I like the answer. I like the phrase that banks thrive on inefficiencies. I mean, they look. I like the thinking. Thank you. So, but Varada is asking you, what advice would you give to young professionals who aspire to work in the banking and finance sector?
See, they need to be committed. They need to be aware of the changes, and I, it's about that 90-hour thing. They should be willing to work hard. In the initial stages of your career, it is very important to immerse yourself in work so that you absorb, whatever is happening, not only in the workspace which has been defined to you, but you need to understand what is happening in the other parts of the bank, because each part of the bank is growing at a very different pace. So you should not be left out by restricting yourself to your role, or don't define yourself by role, and work hard. Try to learn what is happening in every part of the bank, and also the industry that you're handling. I think that's very important. Don't put an end to your curiosity. Learning never ends. I think that's about it. And put hard work, commitment. I think these are the words which I can really think about for any young person who wants to join banking. Stay committed.
Excellent advice. I think hard work never goes out of fashion, no matter what the social media trending posts might be wanting to tell us, because whoever has risen, it's not about the number of hours per se, but yes, it has to be some amount of hours. You cannot grow in a career without putting in the hours. So, that's.
Don't define yourself by number of hours. Think what you are picking up, and I feel that the time that you spend on your work is an investment to your own self more than the organization.
Absolutely. And I think most of us, in the first 5-7 years, I think we learn the most. And that's what creates the base for us, and then you keep on reinventing yourself every 5 years.
Exactly.
And that's how you keep yourself relevant. Yes, I think that's great advice, and thank you. I think these were mainly the questions, and they were like, people have liked a lot of your answers, and they're just writing comments, so we are probably up on time. So thanks a lot, Shifali. And I think before we end, I would like to say a thanks to this platform, Thinkly, which is founded by my friend Vivek Saxena, and they host curated content from some of the leading thinkers in the world, and it's a perfectly ad-free platform, which you can get very quality content out here. And the team here is very young and very committed. So Ria, who is on the show here, she has helped us put together today's session. Ganesh from their team is the technical person who is helping us. Then, of course, Karishma Mehta, who is a co-founder and the vice president, Rahila, and the entire team is young, very enthusiastic, and they really want to bring forth a change in the world. So I would love that you spread the word and spread this YouTube video when it comes out with your network. So we need more people to be like-minded people to come forth and change the world.
Thank you. I'm so thankful that you gave me this opportunity, and the kind of questions that you asked, maybe it brings a bit of impact on the way people think about their work and define themselves. Even if one person changed their way of thinking, I think it's a job well done.
Absolutely. And I loved your answers, Shifali. Very balanced answers. And I'm sure the young people who have, and not just the young people, everyone who's joined in had a lot to learn from this. So thank you. Thanks for taking time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.